Hi there. I just thought I'd just drop in and help those of you who are thinking that your child or young person, or indeed a fellow adult, is struggling from trauma and therefore you're looking to see them be helped for recovery. I want to just help with some misconceptions around trauma. Many people seem to think that trauma would be part of a course, a training qualification, such as a social worker or pediatrician or educational psychologist or psychologist. It isn't. Trauma is not part of any of those courses currently. There's lots of work happening to help them be part of them, but it isn't at the moment. So there isn't sort of a ladder in terms of an understanding of trauma. Psychologists are not trauma experts. They could be, but they're not due to their training. Psychiatrists are not. They're trained in a medical model, not a trauma recovery model. Social workers are generally taught on attachment, but they're not trauma experts. In fact, no current qualification at the moment exists for you to be a professional and a trauma expert. So lots of people put funds and budgets and time and energy into the wrong people and end up with reports and treatment plans that aren't trauma recovery focused. They're more management focused. There's a huge emphasis on trauma recovery being about your thought life, your cognition, your emotions. And whilst that's very, very true in terms of recovery for somebody who's experienced a type 1 single incident trauma, when it comes to type 2, which is multiple traumas that happen regularly over a period of time, or type 3, which is often called developmental trauma, trauma that started at an early age and has caused additional trauma that's continued. So multiple different kinds of trauma. When it comes to type 1, the route for recovery is absolutely very much centered on general relationships and self-regulation and kind of CBT-based things. When it comes to type 2 or type 3 trauma, those things don't work because trauma becomes embedded in the subconscious where there are no words, but also it's not just emotional. There's a whole load of embedded and confused and enmeshed experiences and emotions and thoughts and just overwhelming sensations that are trapped within the subconscious. And that needs exploring with a professional. I'm just so worried that in this pandemic, people are going, oh yeah, we need to help with the trauma, and they're turning to the wrong people as experts. I would argue that turning to somebody who's a psychologist within a business environment is very similar to turning to, if you're diagnosed with cancer, and I would often say that trauma and cancer are very parallel in the sense that GPs and doctors are trained to identify the symptoms of cancer, but then to forward them on to an oncologist specialist. And trauma is the same. The equivalent, the GPs, the psychologists, the psychiatrists are all trained to recognize the signs of trauma sometimes, although they're not always, and then they should pass them on to the oncologist, or in the trauma world, the trauma specialist, because it's a very specialist field. And people don't understand that. And there's a lot of just devastating situations that I've spent years unpacking from people that have gone to the wrong professionals, and the trauma has actually been exacerbated, not there's been no recovery. So don't go to the wrong people. And secondly, recognize that most things out there talking about trauma recovery at the moment, and pretty much every school intervention that's out there, is aiming at helping people who have been through a crisis, stressed, or type 1 trauma, single incident trauma, not developmental trauma, multiple trauma, such as significant abuse that's gone on over a period of time, significant neglect that's gone on over a period of time, multiple different traumas that have happened all at the same time. The things that are out there at the moment that people are saying, this is what you do for trauma recovery, do not work with people with complex trauma or those kind of backgrounds. So please be careful. Don't waste money, time, and energy simplifying trauma to be something that we can all fix with a little bit of self-regulation, a little bit of emotional discipline, and a little bit of mindfulness. All of those things do not work in type 2 or 3 trauma. I hope that helps. I'm a full believer that we can help people recover from trauma, but when it gets to type 2 and 3, you need the right people standing with you, helping you. Okay.